Hello, kia ora, I'm Philip Duncan. Thanks for joining us for our Wednesday weather update, recorded September the 6th. And we're tracking thunderstorms, an active cold front right here in the Tasman Sea. Yesterday it was just coming out of Australia. Today it is heading in towards the South Island, and it does bring a few thunderstorms into the west coast and a few more isolated ones into the North Island. The front itself is falling apart. We'll explain that in a moment. The other feature to keep an eye on is around southeastern Australia. There's a lot of stormy weather down in the Southern Ocean at the moment, and a new low is about to form and track right through that southeastern corner over the next couple of days, and then it comes over to New Zealand as a windy westerly. So let's have a look at those thunderstorms at the moment. A lot more of them than we had yesterday when there was just a little patch of them here. Expanded out a lot. A mixture of warm northerlies coming through and then cooler westerlies behind it. Classic September and spring weather. So moving into the South Island today, moves into the North Island to some degree tonight and tomorrow, but it does then fall apart, and it's falling apart because there's a big block of high pressure right here out to the east. In fact, on the big picture, you can see it here. That is high pressure, that active cold front right about there, running into high pressure, and a front in high pressure is like a human being trying to run in a swimming pool. It is very hard work, and eventually you'll just give up. And that's what that front will do. It'll just give up as it moves through Thursday. But there's a lot of low pressure down here, including this one around South Australia, and that is going to deepen as it moves into Victoria and Tasmania later this week. And then it falls apart as it moves to New Zealand this weekend, but it does bring those windy westerlies back in. So we've got a bit of rain on the way, most of it on the west coast. There will be a few other isolated downpours as a result of those thunderstorms and downpours coming in. But generally speaking, the North Island not seeing too much rain, sort of in that 1 to 20 millimetre mark. But the west coast, you got heavier falls there, up to 70 millimetres coming through over the next couple of days. But mainly dry, if not completely dry, for those in the east. And over in Australia, you've got showers in the east, not a huge amount, but 5 to 15 millimetres for you. And then you can see that low pressure zone moving through the south of Australia, especially Western Australia, where anywhere between 50 and 70 millimetres coming for you over the next 3 days. So here we are on Thursday. There is that developing system. So Adelaide's got a big southerly blast coming in. Northerlies, though, coming in for Melbourne, Hobart, Sydney and Canberra. Over in New Zealand, that active cold front probably loses the active part of it and just becomes a weak cold front as it moves into that big block of high pressure up to the north. So it moves in, falls apart basically, and behind it, you've got those westerly winds around the lower South Island. That will help lift up your temperatures. As we go to the end of the week, there is that storm system coming in for Victoria. It's easing for Adelaide. And for Hobart and the rest of Tasmania, you're right in the middle of the low. So not very windy as you go through the morning, but into the afternoon and evening, those big southerlies come in. And if you're in New Zealand going, why are you talking about Australia? Well, there's nothing to talk about here. We might see maybe a couple of fog patches around, but otherwise mostly dry and sunny, and a few clouds maybe over there along the eastern side. Now on Saturday, the high shifts a little bit off New Zealand. Still got maybe a couple of showers remaining on some coastal areas in the east, but it's dry really, and mild winds coming down. But look at this big blast over Tasmania. Now we talk about Tasmania quite a bit, and we do have a few viewers in New Zealand who are perplexed about why. But our weather comes from there. That's the reason why we often talk about it. But I want you to look at this. We put this together yesterday to show you the similarities. It's not just the weather we share with Tasmania, but a number of place names as well. So if you hear me talking about the West Coast region or Queenstown, I may also be talking about the West Coast region here and Queenstown. Also, I learned something interesting. Akaroa, although probably not with the Māori pronunciation over in Tasmania. Akaroa probably. But yeah, that's a New Zealand name in Tasmania. That's kind of cool to see. So we have similarities beyond just the weather, place names as well across New Zealand and Tasmania. So that windy weather from Tasmania, this is it here, over the South Island on Sunday. Tassie itself's got a colder southerly coming in. There'll be some snow on the mountains. Mount Wellington might even get a very light dusting. But over here, and that's the Mount Wellington in Tasmania, not in Auckland. Auckland, in fact, will have a nice mild northerly. So northerly winds or nor'westers for New Zealand on Sunday. The windy weather from out of Australia will push up the temperatures, but it also drives in rain over there on the west coast. And then we get into Monday of next week, and pretty unsettled really around the New Zealand area. Again, it's that same weather coming out of Australia, drifting over to us. They've got big high pressure settling the weather down for them, so that will be coming our way as well. But in the meantime, next week kicks off pretty windy westerlies. That'll shake the pine trees and the pine pollen, especially for eastern areas of New Zealand. So get ready for a bit more sneezing. That's likely to be happening next week. That's all from me for today. Back again tomorrow with our next update. We will see you then.